Okay, in this video I'm going to show you how to install the CPU heatsink fan, the RAM, and the M.2 solid state drive directly onto the motherboard. So what I did is I just took the motherboard out of the box. It's good to actually do it on top of the motherboard box. Normally I use an anti-static wrist strap to ground myself, but I can't seem to locate mine, so we'll just be careful here. So let's get started. So first, well, just to show you the CPU slot here, you got the swing arm here for the locking. You just release that. This comes up to expose the pins. You want to take the cover off. You can obviously just throw that out. So leave that open for now. And what I want to do is I want to actually apply the thermal paste onto the CPU. This is the 4790K. And if you take a look at the heatsink they supply, it actually comes pre-installed with some of the thermal grease. I don't like using theirs. I'm sure it's just fine, but this is a high performance one. If you look on the internet at reviews, and there's a few independent tests that say they have some charts showing different testing methods that they used, and this one came out on top as also, I think it's like Arctic Silver, but this is one I've been using for a few years. As you can see, I'm almost out of it actually. So what I want to do first is I want to remove the thermal paste from this one. You can just take any kind of rag, or in my case a paper towel, and clean that up there. But what I'm going to do too, it's good to, anytime you're going to use thermal paste or any kind of water block or anything like that, you want to clean it off with rubbing alcohol first to really clean that area. So I'm just going to clean this up here a little bit. It's actually looking pretty good. Got most of it off already. There you are. Nice and shiny. Just dry it off. Okay. And also what I'm going to do real quick, I'm going to do the same to the CPU heat spreader on top, and put a little grease on it. It's good to clean them up because sometimes you'll see a little film on it. Nothing crazy. It's really not a big deal. You don't have to do this, but you might as well get a good clean connection through both. No dust or debris or anything like that. So I'm just going to clean this off. Okay. You can see it dry up. Nice and clean. Throw that down. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to actually apply the thermal paste. There's a few different methods that people say. If you watch Linus Tech Tips, he says, you know, all you need to do is just put a little glob in the middle and it'll take care of it. I did a little bit of research on it, and it seems that works fine. You know, you're not going to get any overheating or anything like that. But on actually a few tests, they did see that the cooling capacity wasn't quite as great as spreading it out evenly and thinly across the surface. So that's the method I've always used, so I might as well just stick to it. Normally I'll just put a little crossing on here, and then spread it. Just all you want to do is just take like a business card, or what usually works really well is a you know, just like a used up gift card or something like that, or a credit card. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that this, oops, I dropped it. You want to make sure this thermal paste is very thin across the surface. You don't want any real thickness to it. That'll actually hamper the cooling performance. So what we're gonna do, and I'm gonna do this again later with the water block. This is just for now. I'm gonna hook up all the components, make sure they work. You always, of course, want to do that first before you get involved in a total, water cooling project. Hook everything up and find that you have to RMA an item or two. So this is always the best way. So I'm just going to apply some thermal paste. And this might take a little finagling, but we'll get there. Okay, put a little bit more on here. Let's fill in little gaps in. I'll probably have to pick up more of this thermal paste for the water blocks. Okay. Nice thin surface. Just kind of keep going back and forth across it. Looks good. Very thin surface, just enough to coat. So what I want to do now, I actually want to clean up anything that's kind of gone over the edges a little bit. With an AMD processor, you want to be careful during this. They actually have the pins hanging down from the bottom, and it's very easy to bend them. With these Intel chips, it's actually a pretty good design with not having to worry about that. And when I do install the water blocks, I'm going to clean all this up again with the rubbing alcohol. Yeah. Looks good. Okay. So now what I want to do, this Intel chip has 2 notches on the socket, 2 notches on the processor. Just drop it right in there, just like so. Close the door down. And what you're going to do is pull this lever. It's actually a good amount of tension on this. So you just hook it under. Voila. So now what we want to do is we want to mount the CPU fan and heatsink that came with it. This one actually looks like they got wrapped around here. Okay, so essentially what you want to do here, the mounting of this, just for clean look, you want to have the cord closer to where the actual power pin, the PWM is for this. So actually it looks pretty good like that with the Intel up anyway, so this one actually works pretty well. Now these are very easy to install, the factory ones. The aftermarket heat sinks and water blocks will be a little bit more difficult. A lot of times you have to add a back plate onto the back of the motherboard for this to screw into. This is actually a really elegant design for how simple it is. It just snaps right into the holes. So what we want to do is drop it right over, line the holes up, drop it cleanly onto the processor. Try not to wiggle it around too much, kind of a little bit. And these bad boys just screw right into place. All you gotta do. Just a quick counterclockwise. And that's it. Got a nice seal. Plug your fan in. And you're good to go. Alright, so let's move on to the RAM, which is pretty simple. Actually very simple. You just want to avoid touching the contact pieces, the gold parts. Now G-Skill is very good RAM for Intel. For some reason it works very well. I do recommend G-Skill with especially i7, i5s. Now here's another thing. There's also been a lot of research going on about where to put these in a 4-channel configuration. Obviously this is a dual channel board, so we have to place them either one in the black, or I'm sorry, both in the black or both in the red. If you look online, a lot of people do say that what you want to do is you want to install the RAM in the 2 slots that are closest to the CPU. I guess back in the day when they built these motherboards, for some reason it had more bandwidth in the 2 lanes that were closest to the CPU. So that would be the 2 black ones, technically. But actually, Asus, they on these Maximus line of boards. Actually, if you can see in here, in my case, I have the same thing. And my configuration is a little different. They have the 2 red ones in the first 2 lanes. So on this one, what they want you to do is they're actually these color codings aren't a mistake. As you can see, the main PCI Express lanes here, they painted these reds because these are the main ones, and then the secondary ones are black on purpose. So you only use these if you ran out of these ones to use and you just want to put an extra card in. So they actually color code this properly. They are telling you that they want you to use the red ones. So they have it designed in a way that this is what they recommend based on the architecture that they went for. So, and a lot of these higher end boards right here, you'll notice that the back retainers they don't move. They're solid and rigid. So all you gotta do is worry about the top ones. Just open the 2 top ones up. Obviously you want to line the pins up. Look for your gap. Okay, gap's up there. So put it in this way. I'm going to put the back end first in since that's the solid one. Line it up with the gap here. Push down gently for the other one. And that's all she wrote. And the RAM's installed. And I guess I didn't mention this before. You definitely want to do all this stuff before you put the motherboard into your case. It just makes it a million times easier, especially when you're mounting the motherboard, because a lot of times it wants to move around a lot. So you can actually grab it by the fan and place it in. So while you're screwing, you have something to really hold on to that's solid. Without it, it's kind of funky. You can't really get a good handle on the motherboard. So, lastly, we have the M.2 solid state. Now, I already opened this package up. What I did was, with this one, it had a Samsung sticker on it. It was a huge white sticker. It went from the whole length, basically the whole length of the chip. It looked pretty ugly in there. So what I did is I took that off and I just put it in its casing that it came in, just to hold on to it. So you still have your, statistics on it. Now these motherboards here in the new Maximus series come with an integrated right on the motherboard. So basically what you want to do is you just want to take a small precision screwdriver and loosen this nut up. And this is just a securing screw. And you just want to look for your notch. Line it up. Just slide her in. It'll slide in nicely. Take your screw. And screw it down. Not too tight, just securely. And that's all there is. Now you have a motherboard that is ready to install. I would obviously recommend just doing the graphics card when the board's already in. It makes it way too difficult to try to slide it all in together, and graphic cards are pretty easy to install. So that is it. Thank you for watching.